I'm good with that.
I know you will. We're going to get you down here, Ed. I guarantee
Awesome. We are live. Good afternoon, everybody. We are back again for our college basketball roundtable discussion. As you can see, we have a panel of amazing guys right now. Why don't you start introduce yourself, Jeff?
I'm Jeff from BMOCwins.com. Been on, many of you guys know me already, but good to be back with everyone. Good to hear everyone's opinion here today.
Good to have you back. Ed, let them know who you are, where we can find you.
Hey, my name's Ed Fang. I run the PowerRank.com. I do football. I do college basketball, March Madness. The PowerRank.com. At the PowerRank on Twitter as well.
All right, and Ian, hello.
Yes, Ian Cameron. Sportsmemo.com is where I am. This website's going on 20 years. It's been a great run there, and that's basically it.
All right, and hey, boys, how you doing?
We're doing fine.
Oh,
I think he's talking to us.
Yeah, doing great. I gave in our college basketball show today. I gave the first half and full game under in the Marquette game, which is looking well. It's looking good.
Good
Nothing
deal.
Hasn't happened yet, but it's looking good.
Good sign.
Just get that out of the way on the top of the show. All right, now,
Also, we would be remiss if we didn't mention it's about 82 degrees. There's not a cloud in the sky, and it is absolutely gorgeous in Costa Rica.
Sure is. We got one more guy coming, but the show must go on. So as he's installing some plugins for his computer, we're going to go ahead and start off. So, guys, a lot has been going on the last month since we last talked. So anybody have anything burning that they really, really want to get off their chest to start off with today?
Oh, my God, you sound like I'm at an AA meeting or something.
I'll start. I suck
ahead.
at college basketball handicapping this year. I'll get that off my chest right now.
I love you.
I'll just put that out there.
Oh, gosh. I think Villanova's starting to pick up some steam after that first loss, and they've covered 3 in a row ATS, obviously straight up. I think they keep that momentum going. I think Jay Wright's really getting into these guys' heads, and they're buying what he's selling right now. I think that's a dangerous team, and I also like Kansas in the long run.
I'll tell you one other thing that's caught my eye is that, a lot of times you see, like when Duke is a top-rated team, and then you see they're actually like 6 and 8 ATS or whatever. But most of the teams in the top 10 have actually been good bets. Like Gonzaga is 10 and 2 ATS, Creighton's killing at ATS, UCLA, Villanova, Kentucky, Florida State, West Virginia. All those teams have winning records ATS. So it's a little bit of a different year in that regard, right?
And one team that's fascinated me, actually, in the ACC is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, just because I don't know if people have overlooked this squad, but, there were some question marks how they would perform this year coming off last year's success, and they have 3 key holdovers from that squad last year: Bonzie Colson, VJ Beecham, Steve Vastoria. And, boy, has this team ever played well in ACC play. 16 and 2 on the season, but 5 and 0 in conference play. They've been a ticket casher for their backers, 8-3 and 1 against the spread. I sort of overlooked this team a little bit going into the conference season. Maybe a team to watch out for. Right now, they're alone in first in the ACC. It may not stay that way, but maybe Notre Dame, a team that is performing better than certainly I expected.
I got to chime in real quick, guys, because Ian is exactly right. And I've been on them the last 2 games. On the road, they cashed both times. Mike Bray has just a unique talent in taking these young guys and making them feel, like they've been around forever. And with those 3 key returning guys, you're right. That team has definitely been undervalued. You better look out for them going forward, because when you're winning like that on the road, it's amazing what can happen the rest of the season.
They also have probably the best point guard in the country, I think. I think Farrell is –
I think he's amazing.
Much improved. He is really fantastic. That team is really good, and they have that Catholic luck on their side too. So don't
never hurts.
Don't forget that.
You need to be able to win away from home come March, and that is a very good sign for Mike Bray's squad. There's no question. They've been able to go on the road, get it done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it looks like the typical Notre Dame team from my end, like very efficient offensively, kind of do it enough defensively. I have them 71st in adjusted defensive efficiency. That looks like a much great team to me.
Yeah, I play that actually. Mike Renner's been giving a Notre Dame, he gave him 2 or 3 times over the past couple weeks in our shows, and every time he gave them, I pointed out that exactly that. Their efficiency numbers are particularly good.
One other thing to point out about efficiency, they're also the #1 team in the country in free throw percentage. That's how you close games out. That's how they continue to win close games. I mean, that is their MO. That is their cardiac MO, and they've done that. So kudos to them.
Let me ask a quick question of Ed Feng, actually. Yeah. Those efficiency numbers, are they predictive, or do you expect regression from certain teams?
Both. I think they're predictive at this point of the season. And so this is stuff I do with my own algorithm that I developed. And there's a couple pretty key differences from what you'll get on KenPom. And I'd actually like to talk about one of them right now is Michigan Wolverines here in Ann Arbor. This is a team that is not very good defensively, but the numbers defensively, they've had a lot of bad luck in the sense that, teams are shooting about 57%, 50+% from three against them. And I don't expect them to be a good team, but they're going to do better than that towards the remainder of the season. So it's one of these things where, they're 185th in KenPom and they're about 90th in my numbers because my system tends to damp out those crazy games where they end up having horrible efficiency against an Illinois team that isn't great. So that's something that you can look for value in. I mean, they play Wisconsin. I had the number at like 7-ish against.
Yeah, but Ed, at what point does that
small.
get straightened out? I mean, it's the middle of January and they're still horrendous against the three.
Yeah. It's one of those things. They're never going to be a good defensive team, but they're going to be better than what the efficiency numbers show at this point of the season. So there's actually some value there.
Gotcha.
And I keep reading and quotes from John Beeline that he doesn't have much hair on his head, but he's trying to pull it out at every opportunity.
Yep.
I mean, he's really frustrated and aggravated with this basketball team, and it's just trying to find a way to point them in the right direction. He's been tinkering with his rotations, and it seems like it's a situation where he hasn't been able to get anything to stick. He's thrown stuff at the wall. It's still not sticking. So Michigan, definitely a team that's concerning me.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely a concerning team, but I would what I feel like everyone is missing is that this team is still pretty good offensively. So my numbers have them about 18th in the nation, and that's good for this team. This is not as talented as the team he had a couple years ago. I just think he's going to start pulling, and his team is not good defensively, and I don't expect them to become a top 50 team defensively by any stretch. But he's going to stop pulling his hair out once a team has a bad shooting night. Doesn't have a 50-60% three-point shooting night against him.
And that's got to end somewhere. There's no doubt that's got to end somewhere. It looks like Drew Martin has joined us. What's going on, Drew?
Hey, what's up, Brenner? What's up, boys? Hopefully you guys are picking out some winners for the listeners. I heard you guys actually chiming in about the Fighting Irish. I actually had a note here. They're playing Florida State on Wednesday, and the efficiency ratings and BMOC talked about it. Free throw shooting. I actually like that over 157. Florida State running up and down the court. I got that one circled. So you guys got any opinion on that total?
You know what? Leonard Hamilton Drew's been a stubborn SOB for many years with Florida State. He's had the athletes. He hasn't let them run. He's forced them into this almost snail pace, defensive, grinded out mindset. Now he's letting the athletes run a little bit, get up and down the basketball court a little bit, use these guys, Dwayne Bacon, all these guys that can shoot. And I think that's very good for Leonard Hamilton to finally sort of, after all this time, let Florida State use their athleticism to their advantage. Maybe they've sacrificed their defensive play a little bit as a result, but I still think it's a dangerous basketball team. Tough loss for them in a tough spot at UNC on the weekend, but still a team I like moving forward. And I do think that should be high scoring. Yep.
No doubt. And that Dwayne Bacon, he's the real deal, and he showed it the other day. I like Florida State, and like you said, I think overs is a good way to look at it because they have learned to run, and finally Hamilton has let them loose. So I like that breakdown, Ian. That makes sense to me.
All right, guys, that's a great way to start off the show today. And I have a question. UCLA seems to be back as a big force in college basketball. What are you guys' thoughts?
I listen. Offensively, I think they're the best team in the country. Problem with me, eventually, they're gonna have to play some defense and get some stops. I mean, this team just continues to try to trade baskets with teams. Look, luckily they got a big shot from Bryce Alford late in that game the other day. But look, as they continue to play Oregon, Arizona, better teams defensively, they're going to have to get some stops because we've seen they're not going to be able to just outscore teams day in and day out. They can do it, but it's not going to be consistent the whole year. So they have to get some stops eventually. I don't think they can do it personally.
No, I don't either. I don't even see them as a top 4, top 5 team.
Yeah, I think there are two teams in that conference, particularly in Oregon, and I think Arizona, as they continue to get stronger, they're not even fully healthy yet. UCLA has to play some defense. I mean, point blank period.
Yeah, that should be a big game. I guess next Saturday they're playing Arizona, so we'll get to see really what UCLA has next Saturday.
Well, and especially their bigs too, because I think Arizona is going to bring those 7-footers in there.
Right.
And that Finnish guy looks pretty good.
That's going to be a man's game for UCLA. We'll see if they're up to the challenge. But one thing I can say, and I mentioned this I think last month about UCLA, look at their point spread record since conference play began. 1-5 against the spread. When you crush Michigan at home, when you go on the road to Lexington, Kentucky in the non-conference and crush them, and you're undefeated going into the Pac-12, there's a value problem. You're an overvalued commodity. The power rating on your team skyrockets. That's what's happened with UCLA, and they're 1-5 ATS to the number in Pac-12 play. It's not a team I'm looking to make cases for betting on at these inflated numbers at this point in time.
Yeah, they're also shooting 43% plus from three-point range. I know they have some good shooters. I think Alford's a great shooter, but that's something you probably expect to get a little worse, especially as they face better defenses.
Yeah, there's no doubt because, teams are watching tape and they see that Alford's the answer. That number's got to go down. And Coach Steve Alford, he's the father of Bryce Alford. He said that he's really, really concerned with this defense, and some big man hit it. They're going to have to start making some stops. They're going to have to, because you are not going to be able to outscore everybody every single time. But moving forward towards tournament time, I don't think that team's going to be a real threat.
The only reason they pulled away from Colorado was Bryce Alford went psycho, basically in the second half of that basketball game. That was a close game for a while, and then they pulled away, and the Buffs couldn't respond. And the Buffs aren't playing any defense whatsoever. What a disappointment of a team they've been. I keep waiting for Tad Boyle to get that team, get that ship righted a little bit. Hasn't happened yet, though.
I also think Ed makes a good point with some of the bigs for UCLA. Listen, Thomas Wells is a nice player on the wing and whatever, but their bigs are weak compared to, like you said, Mark Kanan. Listen, mark my words, Arizona Wildcats in the next 3 years will win an NCAA tournament. Their recruiting class coming in is unbelievable. They're adding to it. With some of the guys they have long-term, they are really going to be good. But I think they can – I really like them this year. They're one of my surprise teams going forward, I think.
And we got UCLA, Arizona on Saturday. It's kind of contrasting styles there in terms of pace, and it looks like UCLA – gets them at home, so that might work against Arizona there.
Yeah, good point.
All right, we got a question for Ed coming in from one of our viewers. Where does Northwestern rank in your rankings, and is this a temporary run they're on heading into conference play?
Good question.
Yeah, that is a great question, because I looked at my numbers the other day and was shocked at where Northwestern was. They're 23rd in my adjusted efficiency numbers right now. I mean, this is a team that I forget what the number. I mean, they've just not had a lot of success, period, in their basketball program. And you kind of bring in a new coach.
Chris Collins.
Yeah, and you look at him, and a lot of Duke assistants don't really do well. In the sense that they don't bring Coach K's persona and his ability to deal with these young players. And I kind of doubted that he would get the ship right there. But I mean, you can't. Right now they look pretty good in my numbers. I haven't had a chance to see them play yet. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that, but that's a shockingly high number from my perspective.
So you would do your numbers say that you expect regression, or is it just because of the program that you're expecting regression, or are you not expecting regression?
Well, I mean, it's just one of these things. So one of the things that some of us quants have learned is that preseason expectation is a pretty powerful predictor. I doubt these guys got a vote in the preseason AP poll. I haven't checked that, but I kind of doubt it. And so, what we found is that the preseason AP poll in both football and basketball is a really good predictor of team strength in the sense that, it's an aggregator. It's a wisdom of crowds, right? And so, if no one thinks Northwestern has talent at the beginning of the season, it's not like they all of a sudden got a bunch of talented guys, between now and then. And so when you see a rank like 23rd, maybe you're like, well, maybe that's a little bit too high. And then you expect that to regress a little bit, but I mean, I haven't seen them play yet, so I'd love to hear what you guys think. I mean,
keep in mind, they've really haven't played anyone we're talking about in the Big Ten. I mean, I know they crushed Iowa, but Iowa's an inconsistent team, coached by an absolute head case. You also look at the fact that, look, they played Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Michigan State, and Penn State. Coming up, we're going to learn a lot about what Northwestern is. Like Ed mentioned, young coach, a lot of kids that really haven't tasted a whole hell of a lot of victory. Listen, I think they're a middling Big Ten team. I don't think they could beat Wisconsin or Purdue or, even some of the middle tier teams. They've had a nice story early on, and they've been a pretty good ATS team. But I think long term, like he said, 23rd, I think it's a little too high.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone –
Oh, you go ahead, Ian.
No, I was going to say, if anyone gets a chance to watch my daily college basketball play of the day videos, we had Northwestern Sunday night. in that romp against Iowa. And I have seen this team play a little bit. Now, that was a bad spot for Iowa. They had just beaten Purdue at home. Huge win for them. So bloody erratic that I had no faith, none, zero, in Iowa being able to follow that up with another a good performance, and sure enough, they got blown out at Northwestern. To me, Vic Law is a great player on this Wildcat team. It's all about the Lindsays and the McIntoshes and the other guys in that rotation. They've got to step up, lend support. A lot of times it's the Vic Law show and only him. Nobody else is stepping up offensively for this team. That's going to be the key for Northwestern moving forward. But like Jeff said, made a great point about Northwestern in terms of can they beat the marquee opponents. They've lost to Michigan State, and really their only marquee opponents so far in Big Ten play. Let's see what they can do when they step up to the likes of the Wisconsins and Purdue's and the like down the stretch. What can Northwestern do? Because that's going to seal their fate one way or the other for tournament time in March.
Yeah, they're at Ohio State on the 22nd, just so the games they've got coming up. At Ohio State on the 22nd, then at home against Indiana the 29th, and then at Purdue on February 1st. So maybe we assume that we expect them to lose at least 2 of those games ATS.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible because I think Northwestern's got a shot
at what?
Against Indiana.
Okay.
Indiana's the team that I think would be the one they've got a good chance of beating. I've got no faith in this Indiana team playing man-up defense when the going gets tough or when the game is on the line. I've seen enough of this Tom Crean team over the years that I think defensively they're very soft. They're not very consistent at that end of the court. That is where Northwestern, if they have Vic Law shooting well, if they have the other guys stepping up to support them, Indiana could be the team that Northwestern's able to pick off.
And also keep in mind, guys, they're shooting 76% from the free throw line. So that's a team that I like to back ATS as well. Shooting from the free throw line 76%.
That's good.
There's no doubt. No doubt. And you know what, guys? I got to chime in because Ed Fang brought up a very, very good point. Duke assistants do not do very well at the next level, and it's amazing because there's something of that magic that they don't get from Coach K, and that puzzles me. But it was a very, very good point, and it's got me thinking. I like stuff like that.
Well, I mean, it's Coach K's a people person, right? Like if you put him in a room with the other top 10 coaches, college basketball coaches, period, I think he's the worst one X and O's wise. Like I just don't think that's his thing. Like he knows how to understand these guys. He knows how to push individual buttons and get these guys to peak in March. And that's why I still think this Duke team's kind of a mess right now. Yeah. It looks like one of those versions of his teams that doesn't want to play defense. But it's one of these things can he get guys healthy? Well, Grayson Allen's a whole nother issue.
That's a soap opera.
But look, they were going back to the preseason poll. They were definitive preseason number 1. So they got the talent. They get that together. They start playing well. Oh, and he needs to get healthy first. Right?
One thing about
one thing he doesn't even come back.
One thing I want to piggyback off what Ed's saying is without him, they're not backable. And 2, without Emil Jefferson, they're not backable. He is the anchor in the middle for them, not only defensively, but as a veteran presence. He's one of the older guys on the team. And with all the youth that they have to get him in there. He is a double-double machine. And you've seen lately, they haven't won games, and that's because of it. Plus, their inability to stop on-ball. They can't on-ball defend. They just are horrible at dribble penetration. They can't stop that. The transition defense has sucked, and they need Krzyzewski back in a bad way because they're slowly getting passed by here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, roadkill on the highway to Louisville, Florida State, back-to-back games. Not a team I'm looking to back on the road, that's for sure.
Plus, I mean, we mentioned Notre Dame. UNC's obviously really good. Miami is still a decent defense team. There's so many teams. You can't afford to have slip-ups like this early on. You have to win some of these games. I mean, you look at what they did at Virginia Tech. That was pathetic. They were dominated in that game by an average ACC team. I mean, it just isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. We got another question from Mr. Guan White. How do you think West Virginia will be doing going forward into conference play?
So West Virginia is a team that I actually wanted to bring up because we know Bob Huggins is a great defensive coach. We expect these guys to be top 10 defensive team. This team's second in my offensive efficiency rankings, which is mind-boggling to me. They don't shoot a lot of threes. They get the ball inside. It's really kind of powered by their 2-point efficiency. And, do you expect some regression from there? Sure. But, right now, I mean, they're the top ranked team in my numbers, and I'm really interested to see how they go going forward.
Yeah, me too, Ed. You and I had talked about it with Pistol Pete last time when we were on. And, I really feel if Cincinnati would not have let Bob Huggins go, they would have won a damn national championship. Absolutely. And I think they would have at least been in the Final Four. That guy is a player's coach. He's tough to play for. But if you buy what he's selling, they're going to listen. They're going to respond. And you and I both were high on that team. And moving forward, that's a great question, Guan White, who's the quarterback of our team. I like that team moving forward in conference play.
Yeah, West Virginia has a couple of home games coming up on the 24th against Kansas and then 28th against Texas A&M. They might be a good bet in both of those games. Texas A&M, of course, is an undervalued team. We've talked about them. I've overvalued a bit. We've talked about them a lot. And then Kansas, I don't know if they hit number one, maybe they'll start to have a run of being overvalued as well, right?
Yeah, they present a unique defensive game plan with the press and what they do. But my concern here is it's either really unique or really easy to beat. If you can beat it, you're going to score points. Kansas has seen it. It's not like they haven't seen it. It's not like Iowa State hasn't seen it. They're either really one-dimensional or really unique. It really depends. Listen, I'm not interested in backing a team that's 303rd at the free throw line. They have lost games this year because they cannot make free throws. You have guards that are shooting under 60% from the free throw line. They have two of them. That is not good enough going forward. You have to improve on that. And I just don't know how it's going to improve. I really don't.
That's interesting. Ed Feng, when you see a team like that, that's great in terms of their offensive efficiency numbers, but then horrible with their free throw line numbers. What's your take on that? Do they cancel each other out? Which one's more important to you?
Well, I mean, efficiency-wise, clearly, like shooting a high percentage from the field is more important, I think, in the grand scheme of things. So I actually take 2-point field goal percentage and adjust for schedule, and I have them 20th. So I think that's the most important thing. But if they can't make foul shots, if they're really bad, that's kind of suggests taking some unders because these are the games.
Yeah, there you go.
In those games, you're going to get fouled a lot. You're going to miss some shots.
Yeah, and the competitively lined games, free throw shooting is going to matter. So eventually West Virginia's, they are a slightly better jump shooting team. Last year, they really had to rely on turnovers to fuel their offense because they were a horrendous jump shooting basketball team last year. They're a little bit better. At least Daxter Miles has had a great season for them. A little bit better jump shooting wise, but they got to clean up the free throws.
They single-handedly lost that Texas Tech game because of foul shots. I mean, there was
you're right. You're right.
And looking forward at their schedule, I know I think Matt or Pete, you brought up they're playing Texas A&M next Saturday, and it looks like Texas A&M turnover percentage, they are 299th in the nation. So going up against that West Virginia press defense, that's something I've had success with is teams that turn it over, bet on West Virginia against them.
That's always a key handicap in West Virginia games.
I like
turnovers of the other team, whether they do it regularly or not. Yep.
And Texas A&M's been overvalued in general. They're on a terrible ATS run right now, so maybe free throws won't matter that much in that game anyway.
Yeah, they're going to get buried.
All right, fellas, are there any games coming up in the next couple of weeks that you are really looking forward to watching or betting on?
Yeah, there's one tonight.
For me, I'll start it out. This is a small one. I'm kind of liking what I've seen out of Florida this year. I think they're maybe the one team that I think that can really give Kentucky a little bit of a run for their money. They have 3 losses, all to ranked teams away from home. They have South Carolina coming up on Wednesday. We obviously have seen what South Carolina's done. I think Florida, honestly, I really believe they're a team that going forward can really knock someone off, maybe Kentucky.
Yeah, I agree with you, big man. And I'll actually stay in the SEC, and I'm actually looking to fade Ole Miss going forward. The SEC's third best scorer, DeAndre Burnett, he went down with a high ankle sprain, and that's kind of something that I've had success with is finding change. So when a team's top scorer goes out, he calculated for 25% of Ole Miss scoring, and they're about to go against Tennessee. I know Tennessee's kind of had a rough start at 9-8. But they're an athletic team and going against a injured Ole Miss team. I'd look to bet on Tennessee this week.
Real quick, Drew, I just want to kind of make a point to everyone and see if you guys agree. I've noticed in the SEC there's a lot of inflated numbers this year, 13, 14. And I mentioned with the odds couple, in the last couple of years, they had Marshall Henderson, Stephen Moody. Now without Burnett, they are really hamstrung on what they can do offensively. I think that is a fantastic point by Drew. I think going forward, Ole Miss is going to be a pure bet against because they are not a good defensive team. And some of these teams really know how to score in the SEC. So
yeah,
I agree.
Big Man, that's a great point because they actually stayed within the number. I took a loss this past Saturday against South Carolina and then covered by 1 point, which that even fuels my fire even more to fade Ole Miss.
So some of these inflated numbers aren't going to be as inflated, I think, going forward with Burnett out. They really don't have much else there.
Great point, man.
Yeah, in terms of looking forward, I'm going to talk about a team that's from a very small conference, but it's one worth mentioning. I'm going Metro Atlantic here. The Siena Saints, who recently have had this little black cloud hanging over their head in terms of a situation involving one of their seniors, Nico Clareth. He's recently been dismissed from the team, or at least put on a leave of absence, and incident violating something involving the program. He wore jewelry apparently recently onto the basketball court. That got him in a little bit of trouble. And eventually Jimmy Patsos, the Greek stallion there, the coach of that Siena team, says, all right, I've had enough of you being a dum-dum. Sit your ass down. You're going to be on an indefinite leave of absence here. And Siena responded. First game without Clareth since he was basically put on that leave against Fairfield. And yesterday they played a fantastic basketball game, probably as good defensively as they played all season long in that road win at Fairfield. Maybe a buy sign and a bet on sign here with Siena out of the Metro Atlantic now that they removed a problem thorn from this basketball team. Maybe some value moving forward on Siena.
It's funny you mentioned that, Ian, because one of my teams that have killed me this year has been the Monmouth Hawks. They have not looked particularly good. There's no if you told me Canisius would have been on top of this conference right now, I would have told you you're nuts. Siena is a great team going forward due to the fact well coached, always rebound the basketball. Plus they got out that cancer that was really kind of holding them back. I think you make a great point, Ian, in a conference that's not particularly strong up top. I think it's really anyone's conference this year, and I like that pick.
Yeah, I think addition by subtraction with Siena there. And Canisius has been very good to me in terms of betting this season.
Yeah, big game today between Canisius and
Fantastic game.
That's a huge game in that conference.
I lean Canisius, but I didn't pull the trigger. Didn't like the number.
All right.
All right. One other question that I promised I'd ask because it's tipping off soon. Creighton's game today. How are you guys feeling?
Well,
go ahead.
You don't want to ask me, but I'll tell you what my opinion is. I took Creighton +4, but that's probably the coin flip opinion right there.
If I had to play it, I'd look Creighton as well. I'm not sold on Xavier. I didn't like the way they got killed at Villanova. That really bothers me, the way they laid down in that basketball game. I think Creighton, the better of those two teams. I'm a little leery of Creighton on the road sometimes, but at an underdog price can only look Blue Jays there.
They're 4-0 ATS on the road, keep in mind. Also, Xavier's a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I think they're a little overrated personally. Edmund Sumner injured in the last game. Going to play today. Shoulder injury is never easy in the game of basketball. Yeah, anytime Creighton gets points, I think they're a buy. I can't really pass that up a lot of the time.
Yeah, my numbers have Xavier by a half point, so agree with what you guys are saying.
Very good.
All right, fantastic. Anything else you guys want to bring up before we start wrapping up the?
I gotta ask the panel here because I've gotten a lot of crap on Twitter for this, but I'm standing pat on it. Why is Gonzaga not being looked at as a #1 team? They have done everything in front of them. They have beaten Iowa State, Tennessee, Florida, Arizona. Why are they not being looked at as a #1 team? They just crushed St. Mary's at home. Right. They have the most talented team in the country, defensively and offensively. Why are they not getting a look?
I think that's a good question. I haven't
seconded. That's a really good question. I'm a believer in Mark Few's team this year, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seconded my efficiency numbers, and to put that kind of number on St. Mary's, I mean, I'm sure St. Mary's shot terribly from 3, and that's part of what the margin of victory was. But I mean, they knocked St. Mary's from like 13th to out of the top 25 of my numbers with that one game. Mm-hmm. And clearly that's a program that gets talent, Final Four type talent, and definitely something to look forward. A team to watch going forward.
Good point.
They are.
Yeah, I don't know about #1 seed, but they're 10-2 against the spread on the year, so they've definitely been
up there.
Been cashing for their backers,
Keep in mind, they've beaten the same amount of top 20 teams as Villanova, and they've beaten more top 20 teams than Kansas. So, for anyone that says they don't play anyone, they have played a lot of good teams, and they've beaten everyone in front of them. They haven't lost yet. Remember that.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a little, West Coast or East Coast bias. West Coast team in a small conference. I know it's Gonzaga and they have some pull, but if that doesn't have something to do with it, I'd be surprised.
Who the hell wants to travel to Spokane, Washington? So they're like, it's out of my mind. Who the hell cares what they're doing? Yeah,
well, here's the question. Team. I mean, are they going to get to the tournament undefeated?
That's
in that conference.
I don't
They
see.
could.
Yeah, I said that. I think on one of the odds couple shows. I think that's a great point, Ed. I mean, look at their schedule. I mean, they've already made mincemeat of. I mean, you look at BYU. They just lost to San Diego by double digits, for God's sakes. I mean, this conference sucks. There should be no reason they should at least, maybe get there with maybe a loss at most.
I mean, St. Mary's is a heck of a program. Got a lot of respect for what Randy Bennett's done there, but that's about it. I mean, they got to go to St. Mary's and they got to win their conference tournament. Probably have to beat St. Mary's again on a neutral site. Yep. So that's interesting to talk. I mean, it just makes for a good story, right? They drop a game sometime and whatever. But
they got
if they're marching into the tournament undefeated,
where upsets can happen. Straight out upsets, straight up wins. Against big teams.
I think St. Mary's can win a game, maybe 2 in the tournament. I think Gonzaga can go to a Final Four, no question.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Well, once again, before we head out, guys, let them know who you are, where they can all find you.
You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. I'm the big man on campus. You can also see me on the Odds Cup every Tuesday and Thursday. We break down games and have some fun every. Also, I have a show Saturday on SBR. Me and the Breadman. We break down and answer questions for all the Twitter universe on SBR. So come join me. I love college basketball. It's my passion.
Awesome. My name's Ed Feng. I founded thepowerrank.com. You can find me on Twitter at thepowerrank. I have a new podcast called the Football Analytics Show, and I promise I will shut up about football once the Super Bowl is over and talk some college basketball, which is something I love. And I'll tell you how to win your tournament pool too.
My name is Drew Martin. You can find me on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. You can also find me at sportsmemo.com, as well as a regular contributor to SBR.
Yeah, and Ian Cameron, Twitter at Bobano, Bobano. Sportsmemo.com is where you can get my selections on a daily basis. And I have daily SBR, NHL, and college basketball play of the day videos. So tune in for those. Hopefully put a little cash in your pocket.
I'm Mike Brenner from SBR, my better half's Pistol Pete. And Ed, I love when you talk about the football, and I'm hoping before it's all over that Pete and I can get on your podcast. We would love to come on and give some insight there as well.
Man. It sounds good.
Sounds good.
Can we get everyone's top 5? I'd like to hear that.
Top 5?
Yeah, right now.
Kansas, Gonzaga, Villanova.
I'll put him on the spot.
UCLA. No, not UCLA.
Get him
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Yeah.
And
number-wise, I got West Virginia, Gonzaga, Kentucky, North Carolina, Nova. Kansas not in there at this point. Louisville not in there. Duke not in there.
Yep, me neither. I don't got Louisville and Duke. I like West Virginia, Villanova, Kentucky. I'm going with them as far as my little top
You guys
3.
think West Virginia is the best team in the country?
No, I think they're one.
I just got them there right now.
Okay, I was going to
You
say.
don't have to think. I mean,
They lost to Temple.
I know, but still, watch out. That team's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, every team's, I guess, a lot of teams have been knocked up, but I'll go with Villanova, UCLA, Gonzaga, Kentucky, and, I'll add West Virginia in there.
There you go. Yeah.
Now, I'll say Kentucky, Gonzaga, Arizona, Kansas, and Florida State. I'm putting them in my top 5. I believe in them.
Gonzaga, Villanova, Kansas, UCLA, Kentucky, and West Virginia is not a top 10 team to me. I'll leave it at that.
We still love you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you very much again, and thank you all for watching. We'll be back again. I don't think we're going to wait another month to do this. I think we're going to do another one in a few weeks to continue our descent into March Madness. Again, thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you up again soon.
Thanks, guys.